We've got some big news tonight, and it is news that Daniel Andrews tried to hide. It's news the Victorian government didn't want you to know, and it is a major insight into some of the politics that was being played before Victoria was sent into lockdown. Now, jump with me back into the time machine and let's go back a few weeks. Now, you may remember that one of the reasons why there wasn't just a tightening of things in Victoria, but there was the you can't leave your house rule for the best part of 6 weeks, unless it was to go to the shops or unless it was to go for exercise, was because apparently hundreds of people were told to isolate at home because they had coronavirus, but they weren't doing it. Let's go back to July 22, when this started to be something that Premier Daniel Andrews said was a problem that would really need to be dealt with. Have a look.
Unless we have people who get tested staying at home and isolating until they get their results, then we will not see these numbers come down. They will continue to go up and up.
On July 30, again, this number was what was jumping out to him, that apparently 1 in 4 Victorians who were supposed to be staying at home, self-isolating, weren't at home and thus were potentially pushing the virus around Melbourne.
Disappointingly, I have to inform you that there were more than 130 unsuccessful visits, so around 1 in 4 people cannot be found at home. There'll be a multitude of reasons for that, but what I can confirm for you is that more than 100 cases have been referred to Victoria Police. It is simply unacceptable for you to have this virus and not be at home. If you're out doing other things, there may be a handful who are out getting some fresh air. That does not explain these numbers. These numbers go well and truly beyond anything like that, and all that will do is spread the virus.
3 days later, 2nd of August, because this situation had been going on, as he mentioned, on the 22nd of July and the 30th of July, it was time to put in place the lockdown. This was a statement that was released by Daniel Andrews, and this is part of it in written form. We must do more. We must go harder. It's the only way that we'll get to the other side of this. I know Victorians are with me when I say too many people are not taking this seriously, and too many people are not taking this seriously means too many other people are having to plan funerals for those they love. It's why from 6 p.m. tonight, Victoria will enter a state of disaster. The lockdown has followed. People have not been able to go to work. Only 25% of building sites are filled with their workers. And this process extends for 6 weeks. Fast forward to today. Put simply, what Daniel Andrews had suggested on the 22nd of July, on the 30th of July, and was one of the impetus for the state of disaster on August the 2nd, was not true. It's not me making that claim. It was revealed today by a high-ranking member of Victoria Police. Because while you heard numbers like 100 cases were referred to Victoria Police, a grand total of just 42 people have been fined for not being at home when they were supposed to be since all of this thing started. So we're not just talking about July or June, April or May or March. The whole time, just 42 people have been fined for not being at home. Yet because of the lack of people being at home, that was a reason ramped up over days and days and days and days for people to be locked in their homes for 6 weeks in Victoria. I repeat, this is not me saying it. This was Victoria Police who made it very clear today. 2 bits of tape make it absolutely crystal clear. Roll number 1.
In terms of compliance checks undertaken since we commenced this COVID operation, we have conducted checks on over 297,770 people, places and businesses. For breaching isolation, we have issued 42 fines.
So remember, the Premier was back there saying on the 30th of July that 100 cases needed to be investigated by police. Of all of the things that have happened in Victoria, the total number of people who have been fined for not being at home when they were supposed to because of the virus, because they are suspected of having it or had it, are just 42. August the 2nd is when the Premier makes it clear that this constant problem of up to a quarter of people who were supposed to be home not being at home is the justification, not for heavy restrictions. The cases alone were clear. The deaths were happening, the cases were rampant, all in part because of, as we know, the failures of the Victorian government and hotel quarantine. But when the justification for nobody can leave their house because we can't trust the people who are leaving their house, this answer from the high-ranking member of Victoria Police today, something that the Premier and his media team hoped we would miss. Turn up your television, listen to the question, listen to the answer.
For the most part, the community's been outstanding. The community compliance is outstanding.
So 42 people have been fined for not isolating?
Yes.
Out of more than 29,000 spot checks?
Yep.
So the Premier a few weeks ago said that his data showed, because of the door knocks, about 1 in 4 Victorians weren't isolating. It's clearly a lot lower than 1 in 4, you would say?
Yes. Yeah.
Why was that the case? Because people had a reason. There was a reason why they weren't home. Yet these reasons weren't either being policed well enough or were being ignored by people who wanted to go to stage 4, to lockdowns, to curfews. Again, the police officer explains why, despite the fact that, again, way back when the supposed 100 cases that were sent off resulted in just 42 people for the entire state of Victoria, for the entire time of the pandemic, since it came our way from Wuhan, China in January.
There's a range of reasons people can leave their homes. It could be for medical supplies, it could be for medical attention. So when we've been dealing with the people and we are inquiring into the matter, the reasons they're providing for us were in accordance with the CHAR directions.
Now, I have no doubt that just as it is with hotel quarantine, Daniel Andrews will somehow be able to dance out of it. But if he doesn't have a day tomorrow of very serious questions and very clear answers about the logic here, because either false information was being fed to the Premier as he was making his decisions, or they were looking the other way when the information was starting to tell the story that they didn't want to tell. Either way, it's unacceptable and it matters. Now, we live in a system where we've got very used to the idea of politicians who stand up and give us a whole bunch of numbers, some emotional statements about those numbers, and then the media do their job and run away and report them. When you don't come on to later say that those numbers were wrong, then faith in the announcements being made from the podiums at the state level, well, it starts to fall. Now, I get it. There will be the human shields on Twitter who will say, who cares? Should there have been some sort of a serious situation in Melbourne? No doubt. Hundreds of cases. Lots of people dying. But the curfew that means it is illegal to leave your home after 8 p.m. at night in an Australian capital city, the first time in our lifetimes that this has ever been the case, the justification for it has seemingly been built on very, very loose sand.